Hey there, Trailblazers, I hope you guys are all doing well. So recently we've already seen Hoyoverse start buffing older characters like Sparkle and Black Swan, focusing more on kit refinement than raw damage. That sets an important precedent, because it suggests other older characters could receive similar treatment going into version 4. With that in mind, in this video we're going to talk about the possible future Nova Flares, or in simpler words, direct buffs for older characters in Honkai Star Rail. And along with this, we're also going to cover some new info related to the Trailblazer getting a new character skin in the upcoming patch as well. But before we begin, let me just provide the usual disclaimer that everything which I mention in this video is based on info taken from various different sources as well as my own personal speculation, which might potentially get changed at any point in time. With that out of the way, let's get started without wasting any more of your precious time. Okay, first up, the first most likely character to get a Nova Flare buff after patch 4.0 has been somewhat alluded to already. And that character is none other than Firefly, who we actually have already gotten info from some very reliable sources more than half a year back that Firefly is almost confirmed to be a part of the next lineup of character buffs. As for the possible buffs that I think she should receive, for Firefly, her main issue isn't strength, it's rigidity. Her transformation-based gameplay hits hard, but once the loop breaks, it can feel clunky compared to newer DPS units that cycle more naturally. If version 4 shortens her downtime or refunds some energy when combustion mode ends, she'd feel smoother to play without becoming too overpowered. Even a small defensive bonus during transformation would help her survive longer fights where mistakes are punished more heavily. Moving on, the next character that is likely going to receive a Nova Flare is also pretty popular, so much that many players even E6 her on release. And of course the character that I am talking about is none other than Acheron, who along with being one of the most popular and widely owned limited characters in the game alongside Firefly, is still a pretty good DPS unit damage-wise. However, she has been struggling to keep up in the current meta due to poor quality of life issues, lack of consistency, and absence of new supports, with her last dedicated support being Jiao Qiao, who was released way back during version 2.2. As for her potential buffs, while her damage is still overwhelming, a lot of it often ends up being wasted. In multi-wave fights, she can erase enemies so quickly that her stacks and setup feel inefficient. A realistic buff would be something that improves carry-over of her ultimate stacks between waves, or turns excess damage into extra charges or energy. That kind of change wouldn't raise her ceiling, but it would make her much more consistent in modern game modes like Pure Fiction. Next up, we have Dan Honkai, who I'm pretty confident about getting a buff as well, even if he did just receive a new form just 2 patches ago in the form of Dan Hung Permancer. This is mainly because a character getting a new separate version of themselves doesn't necessarily mean the older version will not get buffed in the future. This is mainly seen with the upcoming Nova Flare buff for Sparkle, for example, who is still receiving a buff despite her SV counterpart Sparksy coming out during the exact same patch as her. As for the buffs that he will receive, while Dan Hungai's damage profile can be pretty strong, especially if you get his E2, his kit is extremely specialized and rigid compared to newer DPS units. Modern characters often generate resources faster or adapt more easily when rotations don't go perfectly, while Dan Honkai is heavily constrained by energy flow and setup. Buffs that slightly improve energy generation, smooth out his rotation, or enhance scaling on his empowered attacks would help him keep up without changing what makes him unique. Moving on, next up on the list is Topaz, who I think also has a pretty solid chance to get a Nova Flare, which is despite her being virtually given away for free via the Stellar Convergence shop just 1 patch ago. As I don't personally think a character being added to the Stellar Convergence shop necessarily means that they will be ineligible to receive a buff in the future. Just like how characters like Blade, for instance, still got buffed despite him being added to the 50-50 loss pool of 5-star characters on the limited banner, for example. As for the possible buffs that she'll receive, while follow-up teams are still pretty viable, but newer characters bring broader team utility, making her feel less essential than she used to be. Shifting some of her value toward team-wide follow-up bonuses, or letting Nami act more often based on ally triggers, would restore her identity as a true follow-up enabler rather than just another damage dealer. Moving on, the next group of characters that I'll mention aren't as likely to get a direct buff, but I still think they are in for consideration. Firstly, we have our one and only Master Diviner Fu Xian, who I think will potentially get a Nova Flare, but I don't think it's likely due to her decreasing popularity after her initial launch. As for her buffs, the problem is that the game around her has changed. Enemy damage has gone up, debuffs are more common, and pure HP-based mitigation isn't as dominant as it once was. While she's still functional, newer sustain units bring layered defenses or extra utility that she simply doesn't have. Minor adjustments like effect resistance scaling, defensive interactions, or small self-healing when redirecting lethal damage would help future-proof her kit without redefining her role. Next up, another character that similarly has a low chance to receive a buff is Yunli, who, similar to Fu Xian, could also receive a Nova Flare. However, I don't think it's very likely due to her not being as widely used compared to a lot of the other listed units. As for her possible buffs, her situation is less about age and more about consistency. Her counter-based playstyle can feel amazing when enemies cooperate, but when they don't attack frequently, her performance drops off sharply. As the game adds more varied enemy behaviors, that dependency becomes a real weakness. Buffs that reward her more when enemies are aggressive, or give her brief protection after triggering a counter, would stabilize her role and make her feel less dependent on specific matchups. So that's basically all of the possible characters that will potentially receive a buff during version 4. Now, before we end off this video, I just want to briefly talk about some recent news that we got about the Trailblazer MCs potentially getting an alternate character skin during patch 4.0. So, according to some brand new info from a very reliable source named Sakura Heaven, in patch 4.0, we'll be getting full MC outfits for both the male and female Trailblazer. And unlike the hat cosmetic that we got in version 3.7, these will be full-blown outfits with a rarity assigned to them. Yes, you heard me right, unlike the past 2 character outfits that we got which had no assigned rarity. These new MC outfits will work similar to most other gacha game skins, which have either a 4 or 5-star rarity assigned to them. This might mean that we'll start getting 5-star rarity skins in the future, which not only changes the character's overall look, but also gives them new animations, skill effects, and voice lines as well. So that's pretty much all of the current information that I have for this video. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel in order to stay up to date with all the latest HSR news and information. That's it for now, so I'll be seeing you in the next video.